Drill that hole through your spacer block a little bit bigger so you can get going off a little easier. It don't matter if it's oversized. If it's to one side, it don't matter. We'll try to get that straight as you can. I don't encourage doing that, what I just did when I popped that on there. But there's something I might try in a little bit, and I'm going to be going in reverse. Because that little pop on there that I just did, or if you turn the lathe on before the chuck is all the way up there, is going to smack in there so tight that you're going to be getting really upset getting it off. But I may try something. So I want to make sure it don't come off if I go to reverse, if I decide to do that. I don't know how many people it bothers. We sometimes get long-winded earlier in the meeting. Do people think we stay too late or anything? Is there anybody that
my wife said I could stay late.
Pardon?
My wife said I could stay late.
Everybody checking out? Larry said his wife thinks he just comes over here and drinks beer. I think I'm going to curve this rim down a little bit. It's running reasonably true. Probably end up making that room a little bit nicer with some shaping paper. Of course, it's not 36 grit. This tool rest doesn't quite go down as far as I'd like. Might have to take that home and take a 1/4 inch off. That's one thing about the banjos on the jets is the tool rest can't. The bar going through here gets in the way, and so with some of the aftermarket tool rest, you got to cut some of it off a little bit. If you're doing a utilitarian plate, you would want them more like Jim's are over there. Mine's going to be more for decoration. Multi-purpose, if you will. And so I'm going to have more rim than, and I might decorate it later.
Just the way Richard Raffin does it.
What's that?
That's just the way Richard Raffin does it.
Now I'm going to take light cuts because I'm only in the back of this bowl plate, whatever it is, less than 1/4 of an inch. You don't want to see how fast you can get it out of there. If this was a highly decorative piece, visibly from the top, you might want to use the golden rule, if you will. And so your rim could be 1/3, and then you'd have 2/3 to the center. And it would be more pleasing to the eye than just guessing something. And it's not something that you think about, it's just occasionally you might say, well, it don't look right. But if you're making it and it looks good to you, then it looks good. Don't forget to stop and check your measurements and your thickness, and remember you got that going inside. You're gonna need to allow, I need to allow about 3/16 probably, unless it was a large platter and I could get in there differently in between the jaws. Some people like to use a scraper on the bottom. Occasionally I have, but it's easy to get too aggressive with a scraper. It is a tool of finesse, and it takes a very light touch. You can do some of it with the shear cut. Or you can just use 80 grit paper. You need more than 80 grit paper. Keep practicing on that wood and then get another piece out and practice on it. Unless you're making spears. Where'd he go? Kurt.
He went to California.
Thinking maybe his wife will want to move out there. That's where both children are, I believe. sometimes if it doesn't have too many ridges in it, rather than scraping it and tearing the grain across the bottom, just run your cut in there pretty decent.
Larry, that's magnified, it shows your screw
Pardon? What?
hole. Says shows your screw hole up here in this magnification here.
Oh.
Just shows a large plate there. Not too thin.
Okay, and then I would sand it this time. And if I wanted to decorate that, I could do that. I could also decorate some of this after doing some of the sanding, because if I happen to put on something that I want to spray lacquer over the rim to protect the cover, then I would have to sand this some more later. I could also apply a finish like that wood turner's finish, could sand and apply it on there.
You're gonna eat on it every day, what would you finish?
Danish oil or mineral oil or walnut oil. I think butcher block oil works pretty good. Some kind of replenishing oil like that works real good. The tongue oils work pretty good. Watco tongue oil with a little bit thinner and phenolic resin or whatever it has in it actually works pretty good. Anything works pretty good. It's just that some will scratch off eventually. The oils do not scratch off. The penetrating oils do not scratch off.
Will you look at that now?
Yeah, I'll pass this around, because then after you get to that point, you got it sanded and or finished, then you pull out this protective blue cloth, and I'll show you how to do the backs, or how I might do the back sometimes. You can make a jam chuck. You can take some scrap wood and put it up here and turn a recess for the plate to barely pop in. If you get it just a little bit slack, you can put some paper in it, some paper towel. Unless it's just barely loose, you can use some tissue. I happen to have a Vic Mark with some jumbo jaws. I'm going to use that. If you have a vacuum chuck, which I still don't have, but I do want to get one or make one up sometime, then you can do lots of things. Now earlier when I was turning this plate, I had to run my tailstock in. I was getting a little bit of wobble and I didn't like it. This hickory don't cut as nicely as that cherry, and it's a little hole in here. I've only got about a 1/4 inch here, and I've got that little hole. Well, I don't want to take any more of that out down to that hole, because I'll lose a lot of strength in the center of this bow. So I'm going to leave the hole as a decoration and maybe add another cut line or something, rather than making a thumb plate. These are pretty nice. It takes a while to change the chucks unless you get a bit to put in a drill and do it. But be warned, don't run them all the way in with the drill. You can split these out. If it's a homemade one and you're using the white baby buggy bumpers, you might squish them out differently.